Don't ever do that again.
I'm sorry.
Well...
Welcome to the Will and Thunder Show. Ridiculous. Right there. Feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder.
Welcome to the Will and Thunder Show.
Hey, how's it going? This is Will of the Will and Thunder Show, online internet radio show about the having to do with indie rock bands, signed bands, whatever. Plus a whole lot of fun. A lot of funny stuff happens as well. The show's been around for probably about 3 years, although it's been on a hiatus for the past year and a half or so. But the show will be coming back probably around August of 2018, which is good. But I also I've been writing a blog at williamtelltale.blogspot.com. I've had that for about 5 or 6 years, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. But I figured, why not get up to date with the times and everything, and do a video blog. I figured, what the hell? And I figured, since I'm gonna be doing my first one, I figured, why not? What better way to start than with Star Wars: The Last Jedi? A lot of mixed reviews about that. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I figured, what a good way to get my feet wet. Now, as I do these, the quality obviously is going to be getting progressively better. I've never done this before, so right now, if you can see my setup, I don't even have an actual video camera. I've got my phone rubber banded to the screen on my laptop, and it took me probably a good 5 minutes or so to get it secured. Anyway, the show's lighthearted, so my video blogs are going to be as well. And I'm going to do these the same way I do the radio show. A nice cold beer in my hand. So why not grab one and join me? Hell, grab a cigarette too. I don't condone drugs or anything like that, but I'm damn sure I'm not going to judge anybody who wants to do them. And me, I'm going to quit too. Anyway, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I'm going to say right off the bat, I really liked the movie. I saw it. I've seen it 1.5 times. I guess you could say. I went and saw it the first time. I had been up for like 24 hours straight, and I was tired. I thought I'd be able to make it through the movie, and I wound up falling asleep. Not because the movie sucked, because when I went back the second time, I was glued to the edge of my seat. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it was a long movie, and just word to the wise, if you're over, say, 35 years old up, I wouldn't recommend going to see any movie if you've been awake for 24 hours straight. Anyway, this is going to be full of spoilers. There's really no way around it, but I've gotten some notes on some things that I'm gonna talk about and everything, and who knows, I might, if enough people comment and have questions or comments or whatever in here other than "Will, you suck," which of course, like if you look at my blog, it says wannabe talk show host, so there we go. I'm a wannabe video blogger as well, I guess you could say. But I'm going to start off with the opening sequence of the movie. The escape. I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, they ripped off Empire Strikes Back." Well, ask yourself this. I mean, if you're the resistance or the rebels or whatever, whatever you're calling it, and you're pinned down on a planet, and all of a sudden the bad guys show up, how the hell are you going to get off the planet? Especially if they have um, superior ships with superior armament. How the hell are you going to get off the planet? You're going to do it pretty much the same way they did it in Empire Strikes Back. You're also going to do it, or you might do it the same way they did it in Last Jedi, which is send a single crazy fighter pilot up there to take out the main cannons on the ships. Plus his little exchange with General Hux is pretty damn funny. If you haven't seen it, that right there might be worth about $1 at the price of admission. But anyway, they did that, and another part about the escape is a lot of people said that it was just boring sitting there watching them chase three ships you know, at cruising speed or whatever. Well, it didn't really remind me of anything Star Wars, and it certainly wasn't boring, because wasn't that the whole premise of Battlestar Galactica? In fact, when they were explaining why they weren't going to just go after them and just pick them off one by one as the ships ran out of fuel, it reminded me, precisely of the 37 episode of Battlestar Galactica, where they were able to track them on each one of their jumps, and basically all they had to do is keep jumping until they ran out of fuel. And that's precisely what happened here. So it wasn't a ripoff of anything, really. I mean, it was, if it reminded you of anything, it would probably remind you of Battlestar Galactica, not anything Star Wars has done. I thought that whole scene was really well done. I mean, um, why waste why waste fighter pilots going surface ship to ship with the X-wings versus the TIE fighters and whatnot? Why waste those resources when you know damn well they're going to be out of fuel before too long? I mean, for once, I mean, I've always heard people through the years say, well, what are the stormtroopers and the TIE fighters just cannon fodder? Well, they are. At least in this movie, it seemed like they actually cared about them a little bit. so, so there's that. Um, then we move on to Rey on the planet with Luke Skywalker. Um, Once again, I've seen people in comments talking about how they didn't like how Luke was portrayed as just, oh, I don't give a damn. Well, can you blame the guy? I mean, if you remember correctly, I mean, Obi-Wan was hesitant to train another Jedi, and so was Yoda in a sense. So why wouldn't Luke be? Especially Luke had more of a personal connection to one of the students than anybody else did. I mean, it was his nephew, um, the son of his sister and his best friend. So, and then things went bad with him. He turned to the dark side, and boom, there you go. Instant resentment, instant neglect, instant second guessing yourself. I mean, I think I would too. Um, there, there's several comedic scenes that happen on the when they're on the planet. Like when one of the first things that you see about the planet is that Luke has crashed his X-wing fighter into the water. I guess he still doesn't know how to land the damn thing on something other than a flat landing deck or a flat surface. But I kept hoping that at the end of the movie, toward the end when Luke rushed in to save the day and all that stuff, that he would actually, you'd actually get to see him pull the ship out of the water. But oh well, that didn't happen. Um, a lot of things happened, on that scene, the interaction between Luke and Rey. A lot of things happened on the island. For example, Rey kind of had her little, you know, dark side cave experience, similar to what Luke had. Although she she wasn't really tempted in the same way that that Luke was, but she was basically tempted, and um, the end result was something very different than what Luke saw. Um, what I took from the mirror scene was that basically she was basically being told that if you you know continue doing what you're doing, then you're going to be fine, because the end result, the big reveal at the end of it, it wasn't it wasn't Kylo Ren, it wasn't Snoke, it wasn't it wasn't anybody else. It was her. So her as she was at that moment. So it's like, no big deal. Rey's going to be fine. She's not going to turn to the dark side. And honestly, I think that a lot of the reason why people, the detractors for this movie, don't like it very much is the fact that they expected Rey to turn to the dark side, or they expected there to be a big reveal about who Snoke is, or which there wasn't, and there didn't really need to be. I honestly found myself more rooting for Kylo Ren, whether he turned back from the light or not. And you kind of got the feeling that he was going to, but there was a period in the movie where I was actually rooting for the guy, and he's definitely has evolved as a character from the first movie. He's not this whiny little emo brat anymore, although he does throw a little bit of a temper tantrum, but he throws away his pacifier, so to speak. And I'm not really going to spoil that for you if you haven't seen the movie, but yeah, he throws aside his little baby bottle or pacifier or whatever, and pretty much after he does that, he's a very likable villain, in the sense that he's more focused and everything, especially after what happens with Snoke, and he basically assumes the leadership role that he wanted in the first place. I mean, it was really good development. I mean, they did a really good job with this, because I guess there were so many people that hated Kylo Ren because of the fact that he was just this whiny little bitch in the Force Awakens, and and they fixed him, which was a very welcome fix. So, next thing I want to talk about is Poe. I mean, we really get to see the evolution of his character, and he basically, continues on being, who they started him as, and for people out there that are afraid that there's going to be a relationship between Finn and Poe, not going to happen. In fact, Finn even kind of winds up with a girlfriend, and I'll get into that, later. But he's they really showed him as this elite pilot, and it gets him into trouble, actually, with Princess Leia, and then with this other general. I can't remember her name, but you really get you really wanted. They did a good job of having a character within the Resistance that you just don't like, because they're because they're just a wuss or an idiot or whatever. She kind of reminded me, and this is another Battlestar Galactica reference. She kind of reminded me of Laura Roslin, and how you felt about her in the early stages of the series when she took over. How she was kind of thinking realistically rather than let's go kill the bad guys type of thing, and you ultimately wind up liking her. And that's the same thing that happened with this general in The Last Jedi. But anyway, Poe, Poe really stands up, for what he believes in, and you kind of respected him for that. And he literally gets slapped in the face by Leia at one point, and I kind of got a chuckle at that. I mean, he was doing what he thought was right, and and he did cause a major, setback. He caused the resistance to take a unnecessary blow if they had just, gotten the hell out of Dodge in the first place, um, after they made the escape from the planet. But, he redeems himself, of course. Um, One of the best points is when Rey leaves the island where Luke is. She can't convince Luke to come with her. Um, Luke doesn't want to come with her, and then so she leaves, and she's going to go try and turn Kylo Ren back to the light. And Luke obviously doesn't want her to do that. He feels that Kylo Ren is beyond redemption, and he may very well be. We don't know. The movie doesn't really explain that. But in a little bit of a nod to Return of the Jedi, she goes there and um, she goes to the ship that Kylo Ren is on, and basically surrenders and is taken before Snoke. But then at the conclusion of that scene, um, Ren's not going to turn back to the light. However, um, he does basically kill Snoke without you know with without any regard for loyalty or anything like that. He just kills him, and then he and Rey basically team up and get into one of the best lightsaber duels that they've had with Snoke's Praetorian Guard. Yeah, that was a really well done scene. Um, and then he tries to seduce her to the dark side, but it doesn't happen, obviously, and she winds up going off to save the day. Um, it it The movie ends on this planet, like kind of like a desert planet. When they used an old base, and they kind of were held up in this cave, and they bring in the Imperial Walkers, and they're of a new design than what we saw in Empire Strikes Back, and these things are like almost twice the size as the ones that we saw in Empire, and we know that because there's some of the older models there walking alongside them, and it would be like me 6'4" walking, you know, out on a walk with like a 8-year-old kid or something like that. I mean, it was that drastic of a difference in the size, but um, but that scene culminated with basically Luke making an appearance, and Rey basically returning to save the day. Now Luke, er, earlier in the movie, while while Rey was on the island, you basically saw Rey Kylo Ren manifest himself um, to Rey, and she could see him, he could see her, yet yeah, they were both obviously in the same places, and we find out that Snoke was the one that was orchestrating that. But we also find out that Luke is able to, has this ability as well, because he fakes out he fakes out Kylo Ren, and they kind of have a little bit of a duel. And although you never see um, Ren's lightsaber make make contact with Luke's, but you still don't really know that's what he's doing until until the end, until he tries to slice Luke in half, and the lightsaber goes right through it. You're like, oh man, I guess Luke can do that too. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if Yoda can reappear as a Force ghost, and he does in this movie, although I don't think it was as much Yoda's Force ghost. Like as we saw in Return of the Jedi. Um, I think that this was more along the lines. I think this was just like um, a hallucination on Luke's part for seeing um, for seeing it. And although this Force ghost or this hallucination did, um, light the temple on fire, um, you know, Luke could have done that, and that could have all just been part of his hallucination. I don't think that it was a regular Force ghost as we saw in Jedi or Empire Strikes Back. Although I could be wrong. In fact, I probably am. um, but it was really cool to see Yoda again, and he was treating Luke exactly the way that he treated him in the beginning, during Empire Strikes Back when he first met him. That's why I think that it was more a hallucination than an actual Force ghost. I believe that if it had been an actual Force ghost, he would have talked to him more along the lines of how Yoda talked to the Jedi commanders and whatnot in the prequel. Um, but instead, he was just kind of joking around and poking fun at Luke. So, yeah, whatever. Take it for whatever. Take it however you want it. I think it was a hallucination. Um, I wasn't gonna do this, but I gotta bring up those little bird things on the island because a lot of myself included, a lot of people were worried that was going to be another Jar Jar Binks or something like that. They're there, although Chewbacca is eating one of them, and the others are just sitting there looking with this horrified expression on their face. They're there for a little bit of comic relief, and the movie is 2.5 hours long, so it could use a little bit. They're definitely not overused, which is one thing I was worried about. Oh, we also find out where blue milk comes from. Yeah. Oh man, makes that scene was gross. But so anyway, Captain Phasma. um, she did have a little bit better of a role than she did in The Force Awakens, although it wasn't much better. It wasn't anything spectacular. Although she did have a pretty good duel with Finn, and this is another thing where it's open to interpretation. It shows her falling off of the exploding ship. I would like to think that they did not kill Phasma off because I've read the book about Captain Phasma, and it's damn good. I'd really like to see more of her as an antagonist in the next Star Wars film. I mean, the way she's portrayed in this movie is exactly how she is in the book. I mean, she towers over the other stormtroopers. She's heartless. She's brutal, and it just makes you. It's like we're just given a little dose of her, and then all of a sudden it's like, bye, Phasma. Almost, well, almost as bad as Darth Maul. Yeah. It was almost as bad as how quickly Darth Maul came and went. But at least Phasma got 2 movies, but she only had probably a total of 10 minutes of screen time. So that's why I'm thinking maybe she's not dead. Speaking of another miraculous survival, Leia, everybody's wondering if does she ever learn to use the Force? And we see a little bit of it, although she's not going. I didn't like the way that it was done, and like I say in my blog post, my blog review about this movie, it was done in a way. I'm not gonna give it away, but it was done in a way that is pretty impossible even in the Star Wars universe. But we do get to see Leia use the Force, and she does it, saving her own life. And we also see a little bit more of Kylo Ren's basic humanity in that at that point as well, which was really cool. Which is what they were kind of building you up to think that he might turn, and he still might. Who knows? But I doubt it. I think he's going to be, your arch villain, and everything for this movie, and I don't know if they're going to make an episode 10 or 11 or anything like that. I mean, who knows? My understanding about episodes 7, 8, and 9 was when it was originally talked about, like shortly after the prequels were done, it was supposed to be the Heir to the Empire series of books, which, I'd still like to see that, although I don't know who would play the original cast though. So, I mean, that might be a little difficult to pull off, but I can hope, can I? Let's see. Wow, I think I got through everything that I had written down to talk about. But overall, I really liked this movie, and I mean, it definitely blows the Force Awakens out of the water. The movie is really well done. It ties up a lot of loose ends that were left over from the original series about the mysticism of the Force and whatnot. Delves deeper into the religious aspect of the Force, and it explains a lot. I mean, it's almost like like some of the standards that were set up in the Force Awakens were kind of just not touched upon or done away with, which is I'm going to leave that to you. I mean, there's spoilers here, but I'm not really giving you anything that is gonna. Oh, I don't have to go see the movie now. That dumbass Will just told me what was gonna happen, so I'm not gonna do that. Um, but I mean it's definitely better than The Force Awakens. It's definitely better than Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. Um, I might even go so far as to say that it's better. It's like Empire Strikes Back is always the best. It's always going to be the best film in my opinion, and I don't think they're ever going to top that. I don't think there's ever going to be one that tops Empire as number one. I wouldn't put this one necessarily at number two, but it's right there with Jedi and the original, A New Hope. And it's probably better than Episode 3, which was the best one out of the prequels. Well, it was really the only good one out of the prequels. So I don't know. I haven't really decided where to put this one in a chronological order yet. Was it better than Rogue One? Well, that's like comparing. It's like comparing apples to oranges. It just there's really no comparison. It's two completely different movies. But I liked it, and I honestly think that the reason that a lot of people, the detractors of this movie they don't like it, I think it's because maybe it didn't go the way that they expected, or maybe I don't know. I mean, that's really the only thing. Oh, there's another scene in there where they have to go. Finn and his girlfriend Rose. They're starting to kind of get close. And everything. She actually finds him, trying to escape again. But they wind up having to go track down this person, and it goes through a casino, which kind of reminded me of like something right out of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But it winds up showing these kids, and at the very end of the movie, one of these kids is it basically shows one of these kids looking up to the stars. So I think we could have a brand new Jedi apprentice coming in the next film. Although who's going to train her? Rey doesn't even she doesn't even know what she's going to do. So I'm thinking this kid might wind up getting picked up by Kylo Ren at some point, which we've already been there with a kid being trained as a Jedi, so why not a kid being trained as a Sith or a Dark Force user? That's about all that's all I can say about that. But it really was cool that they went back to the kids, at the very end of the movie. The kids just weren't there as a plot device, which, at the time it seemed like they were. But so yeah, I'm definitely excited for the next one. But I mean, this movie, people, you never know why somebody likes or dislikes a movie. I liked The Last Jedi. I thought, it was basically a breath of fresh air after seeing The Force Awakens. I mean, when I walked out of The Force Awakens, I overheard these two people that were probably about 10 years older than me. I'm 40. Well, I was 42 at the time. I'm 44 now. But I overheard them saying, "Oh, yeah, it was kind of like the first one." I looked over at him and I said, "It was the first one." So, I mean, yeah, it gave me hope. It wasn't just a rehash or anything like that, and it wasn't grandiose. The writer and director of this movie did, in my opinion, did a great job with the movie. You know, were there some things that I wanted to see that didn't happen? Sure, but I mean, you're not going to be able to please everybody. Just like, I mean, some of you are probably going to hate this video and give me the thumbs down on it, and I really don't give a damn. But and the writers of this movie, they don't give a damn either. You're gonna you can't please everybody. There's people out there that thought Force Awakens was the greatest Star Wars film that there has been, and I'm like, well, you must have been watching a different series than the ones that I watched. But anyway, it's all up to opinion. Anyway, that's my opinion on The Last Jedi. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, click the subscribe button. I'm gonna try to get more of our shows uploaded into the archive section on there, in the list of videos, because there's like 40 of them there now, but it can be a lot more. But be sure that to like the page, and keep an eye out for when the show comes back, and maybe I'll do some. If I get a lot of response off of this, good or bad, then I'll definitely do another one. If I do a bad one, then I'll probably do another one faster than I would if it's all positive. But anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. By all means, let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time. This is Will signing out.